Isaiah Grant back with another episode of Thinking in Circles. This time we're going to talk about the symbolism of lithium, Nara-Narayana, Vishnu, Arjuna, and how they unify in the idea of the immortal partner to the human ego. And this is basically gets into the idea of how we've kind of been talking about this a bit, how libido can align you with purpose, but also because these characters that I'm referring to have the idea of dealing with both water and fire, which gets into the idea of the liquid form of the Philosopher's Stone. This is basically going to touch home on the idea of libido as the aqua permanens. So we're going to get into this, and I basically came into this idea when I was reviewing a video, which I'll actually have to show a video of it because it's too amazing not to see if you haven't seen it already. How lithium strips can be basically can be taken out of batteries, or you can. There's some people that I've seen order lithium online and place the bits of lithium into water, and they get like a chemical explosion. I found that very, very, very intriguing because from a standpoint of psychological alchemy, and also from the understanding of the fact that metals have representations of psychological properties within human beings that are attributed to them, seeing this reaction take place just really caught me off guard and started making me think, wow, there's a silver type metal, right, that has this type of property when it's mixed with water. That's that's insane. Because and this was because of the properties of water being akin to emotions alchemically, and silver being attuned with the unconscious. Silver is a lunar metal, so the fact that you have these explosive elements in the unconscious that can be exhibited when paired with water, which represents emotions. I mean, it was kind of catchy, and the idea that fire is produced and comes forth from that, it just blew my mind. So I compiled a bit of lecture on this situation, and I'm going to try to skim through the notes as fast as I possibly can, because I usually get into some real voluminous content, and I want to get the message out there without taking up too much time of yours, because I know time is precious, time is money, money is time, and at the end of the day, we're measuring our day-to-day life via time, and you can't get that back. But I really believe that you'll be intrigued, blessed, and also able to really gain something out of this message I put together here. So anyways, what I'm going to get into is first we're going to start off with a Proto-Indo-European root that will break open this idea just a little bit and kind of show you in a way too how the Proto-Indo-European roots work, because they go in an ideological procession a lot of times, to where if you understand symbolism, you can see ideologically how certain ideas contain other ideas in them that will show you a whole lot more about what they actually mean, even in a symbolic setting. You know, psychologists actually use etymology in order to understand the underlying meanings of certain people's dreams as well too. So you can also see free association, as far as Sigmund Freud, his idea of free association in understanding and breaking down dreams, how that would go into things too. You know, the word has a linear pattern inside of it that will lead from point A to point B on certain things and really open up an idea of understanding. But anyways, I'm going to get into this. So Proto-Indo-European root arg, which we get the Latin argentum, silver. Okay, to shine, white, the white or shining metal, silver. Okay, and some of the words that we get from it are litharge, pyrite, which is a kind of a reddish stone. So we, in a way, we kind of have, okay, silver. Silver is lunar. That's the left side of the brain, the side of the brain, or the right side of the brain rather, the side of the brain that sees things more holistically. The more archaic part of the triune brain components that hold the symbolic type ways of seeing things, ways of interpreting things, that do not really understand language, more understand the language of shapes, the language of colors, and is more akin to the collective unconscious. Okay, and this is what we're trying to balance our left brain with. You know, the left brain, the more society-minded brain, the more numbers, rational thinking brain. We're trying to get it to polarize and to be balanced with the more archaic, more holistic, really the more the side of us that sees more, even though we don't think it does. Okay, so anyways, we also have the word Arjuna that comes into play here, which is why we're going to talk about that character in the Sanskrit mythologies, right? So anyways, Arjuna basically means bright, white, or silvery, and we're going to go over a list of some of Arjuna's names that will kind of shine some more light on the situation, though. But in Hebrew, kasef is silver. The number for kasef is 160. Breaking it down, kaf, which is the k sound, is the palm. Samek is the bow or arrow. Pe, the f sound, right, is a spear. And if you break it down to the letters and read it, it says it's basically like mercy tempered with wrath, meaning you have water and fire together. Okay, so follow me here. Now, the signs that have a water and fire admixture are Sagittarius, which is fire with a water admixture. And then you have Cancer, which is water with a fire admixture. Okay, so these are signs, if you understand anything about them, that will kind of lead you into understanding a little bit more about what's being talked about. And just to kind of give you a little insight, like Sagittarius, for instance, is fire mixed with water. It's the spiritualization of the fire aspect, the more creative, the more intuitive, the more motivational, the more forward and forceful aspect. It's a spiritualization of that. So we could say that we're taking a look at the spiritualized aspect of fire in the psyche. Okay, that's a way to look at it. So also let's link to the idea. Okay, first let me read this footnote that will kind of open up what I just talked about. Silver is the metal of the moon or mother, the unconscious. The conflagration of lithium upon hitting water in an alchemical view shows the descent of the path of Gamel, which is the moon, and it's also called the high priestess in the tarot, upon the psyche as a truly occult explanation for ego inflation, but also the basis of courage and divine right to act, inspiration towards that which is good. Lithium is that which turns emotions into intense fire and is found within the sea in nature, which is a symbol of the unconscious on earth itself. The fire water of the alchemist is the aqua permanens, or liquid stone, which contains the essence of the work. This suggests that as this is actually naturally found in the human body as well, lithium. It is also per alchemical idea in the psyche, meaning we have an element that is seemingly volatile psychically, which is actually volatile physically within us, that corresponds to the link between God and self and man. I will endeavor to develop this idea further as we look and see how this links to Arjuna, Nara-Narayana, and Vishnu, etc. Okay, so beyond this, let's go ahead. Okay, so litharge, the word litharge, right? Breaking that down just into raw symbolism, lith means stone, arg means silver, so a silver stone. Arjuna is the companion. This is what I wrote about that. Arjuna is the companion and twin, so to speak, of Vishnu as an avatar of him, and from another standpoint is a perfect example of a human living out a relation with the with and via the impulse of self. So the thing is that stone, okay, which is the stone of the philosophers, right? And the idea of silver, okay, can be looked at as you have the ego self-axis, which is represented by silver, okay? If you look in the Kabbalist tree of life, you'll see the path of Gamel leads from the number 1 to the number 6. The number 6 is in the Yetzirah, the world of formation, which is the Ruach, which is comprised of Sephiroth's number 4 through 9. That comprises the psyche. Everything else above it is a higher portion of the psyche that is, it can be said to be part of it, but it's actually something that's separate from it. It's the self that rides on the psyche, basically. And then beneath 4 through 9, you have the physical body to which those potencies attach, okay? So the thing is this silver stone is something that really, we want to know something about it. We want to know what the stone of the philosophers is, so quite possibly we might be able to align with that power in such a way that our lives can be transformed in some special way, okay? So Genesis 49:22 through 26 basically describes Joseph being a fruitful bough by a well whose branches run over the wall. Archers are shooting at him, hating him, yet his bow abides in strength. And this bow we're talking about is Sagittarian, because Sagittarius, the sign of Sagittarius is drawn as an arrow or a bow and arrow. The idea of the rainbow is attached to Sagittarius. So we're looking at something that is ruled by Jupiter. However, because it is fire with a watery aspect, when we look at Cancer, Cancer is ruled by the moon. And that's ruled by something, once again, that deals with the ego self-axis. The ego self-axis on the tree of life, which is lunar, turns into Samek, which is the sign of Sagittarius, which sits in between 6 and 9, the sun and the moon, the conscious and the unconscious. So we're kind of dealing with the same thing when we look at Sagittarius and when we look at Cancer, you know. Cancer representing free will, Cancer representing also the parts of the conscious, or of the psyche rather, if you will, that sometimes can be moving in separate ways that need to be balanced in order for the charioteer to have the power of motion and a free movement, because everything is in line and everything is in proper balance and order, okay? And this is what getting a relationship to the self is all about, and having the ego self-axis in equilibrium is all about. You know, it's going to get that your libido flowing in the right direction, so that you're on your task, you're on your goals with determination. And that's even what the symbol of the bow and arrow is about: pointing straight to a target, being able to hit it, and this is something that Arjuna was great at. Okay, so anyways, Joseph being a fruitful bough by a well is what's talked about in Genesis 49:22 through 26. Whose branches run over the wall, archers shooting at him, hating him, yet his bow abiding in strength. And then, let's see, references being to the sign of Joseph, linking it with, okay, so, and it also references being to the sign of Joseph, linking it with the stone of Israel. So the stone of Israel, which is the stone of the philosophers, the stone which the builders rejected, that had become the chief cornerstone. This is alchemical talk, right? The sign of Joseph deals directly with that, okay? And blessing basically being upon the head of him who was separated from his brothers. Think of this. When we approach the story of Arjuna going into exile away from his brothers and his link to Indra's bow, you know, there's a lot of juxtapositions with these stories here, is what you're going to come to find. Let me make sure I read. Okay, so continuing on with the Proto-Indo-European roots, beneath ARG, which is silver to shine, white, the shining of white metal, is AS, the root AS, and then we're going to look at Ater, which is something else. Okay, so to burn, glow is AS. You get the word, it's the key to the word ash. Some of the derivatives included are arson, aura from Latin aura, altar or hearth. You know, the hearth dealing with the home, the altar where sacrifice is made, where food is set out for tutelary deities, etc., right? Arid, dry, parched, to be dry. We're dealing with calcinario symbolism. That's what this tells me right off the bat when we're talking about fire and things of that nature. And since fire, we're also dealing with heroes. We're also dealing with solar deities. So, I mean, once again, my favorite deity, Mithras, could be seen in this whole idea. And I think even the name Mitra is mentioned along in most of this as well, too. But anyways, continuing, Proto-Indo-European at, to go. The idea of the moving power of libido is seen there. And I'm going to throw this up on the screen so you can take a look for yourself. Ater, which is fire. And keep in mind, in Hebrew, aleph shin, ash, which is 301, is the word for fire. And 301, 1 would be God or the self, right? 300 would be fire. And keep in mind that the Hebrews, when speaking of their deity, they said, our God is a consuming fire, okay? And when we get into the names of Arjuna, we're going to find that the name Krishna means he who looks black or is of dark skin, right? And the word Ater has the idea as far as atro, EKW means black looking or atrocious. The word frightful is found there, you know, but this is the word fire. We can continue in on these roots though, but we have material to get into here, and I want to be able to hit all of this. So here's a note on this whole idea of the mortal partner of the mortal ego. So the self is the immortal partner of the mortal ego. C.G. Jung stated that when a summit of the life is reached, when the bud unfolds and from the lesser the greater emerges, then, as Nietzsche says, one becomes two, and the greater figure, which one always was but which remained invisible, appears to the lesser personality with the force of revelation. And I put, once again, C calcinario, which equals fire. Remember, fire is the element of libido and also links to the archetype of the heroes. Now, C.G. Jung, this from C.G. That one quote that I just read is from C.G. Jung's Archetype of the Collective Unconscious, Volume 9.1, written in or published, I guess, in 1969. So on to the next portion of this. Lithium. We're going to read about lithium. Lithium is from the Greek lithos, which means literally stone. And it is a chemical element with the symbol Li and atomic number 3. It is the least dense metal and the least dense solid element. Lithium is highly reactive and flammable. I'm going to insert a video clip to show you what this reaction of lithium to water actually looks like. This would be the idea of heightened psychic energy in the emotional center of the psyche. It's inspiration, enthusiasm. It is inspiration, enthusiasm, and ego inflation, animus/animus possession at worst, at its extreme. Okay, and must be stored. So lithium must be stored in a vacuum, inert atmosphere, or inert liquids such as purified kerosene or mineral oil. Most air corrodes it quickly to a dull silvery gray, then black tarnish. It never occurs freely in nature, but only in usually ionic compounds such as pegmatitic minerals, which were once the main source of lithium. It is present in ocean water and is commonly obtained from brines. Lithium has important uses in nuclear physics. The transmutation of lithium atoms to helium in 1932 was the first fully man-made nuclear reaction. And lithium deuteride serves as a fusion fuel in staged thermonuclear weapons. Lithium and its compounds have several industrial applications, including heat-resistant glass and ceramics, lithium grease lubricants, flux additives for iron, steel and aluminum production, lithium metal batteries, and lithium-ion batteries. These uses consume more than 3/4 of lithium production. Lithium is present in biological systems in trace amounts. Its functions are uncertain. Imagine that, right? Lithium salts have proven to be useful as mood stabilizers and antidepressants in the treatment of mental illness such as bipolar disorder. So bipolar disorder is like, and I've been around some bipolar people. It's like they go from one state to another state very quickly, very erratically. And when all is said and done, antidepressants, those are people that are in a low slump. So this is saying that it's something that brings two poles together as one, and it's something that brings a low into a high in a roundabout way. Okay, so by early 2021, much of the lithium mined globally comes from either spodumene, whatever the heck that is, the mineral contained in hard rocks found in places such as Australia and North Carolina, or from the salty brine pumped directly out of the ground as it is in locations in Chile. So I wanted to read that last portion there about it being mined from rocks because keep in mind, Mithras was a deity of fire, of libido, right? And he was said to be born from either a tree, but also we see that it's highly promulgated that he was born from a rock. Okay, so we're seeing this silvery stone, okay, that when exposed to oxygen, it exhibits the signs of something that is like being burned. Okay, because it blackens. Okay, you throw this stuff in water, it explodes, fiery explosion. Okay, and this is something that's mined from a rock. It has all the earmarks of a rock-born deity like Mithras. It has all the ideas of the fiery solar libido. Okay, and the way that it embroils the emotions. You see, or the way that it can lead psychically to ego inflation or the feeling of inspiration. And we'll see these things as I throw up the chart on alchemical calcinario. And this is how you have to read into these charts if you ever get into the idea of alchemical psychology. These charts, these cluster charts, will help you to make decisions on what nature a mythological character is, or a certain process that something is going through. You'll be able to kind of chart the progression, and also too to see what it might have a propensity to turn into. So continuing forward on the paperwork here now. So first we're gonna read about Nara-Narayana, because it would be good to see who this character is. What is this character? How does this deal with fire? How does this deal with Arjuna? How does this deal with the partner, the immortal partner to the human ego? How does this deal? Okay, and we're gonna get a quick crash course understanding here. Nara-Narayana is a Hindu deity pair. So it's a twin type deity, okay, and we can look at the tarot card called the Lovers for an idea of that unity of opposites. And where you have a unity of opposites, you have the conjunctio as well, though, too. You know what I mean? A third thing comes out of that. Okay, so it's a Hindu deity pair. Nara-Narayana is the twin brother avatar of the god Vishnu on earth, working for the preservation of dharma or righteousness. Let me see. The Hindu scripture Mahabharata identifies the god Krishna with Narayana and Arjuna with Nara in the divine pair. So Arjuna is identified with Nara, okay? Krishna is identified with Narayana. And keep in mind that one of the names of Arjuna is Krishna. And Krishna I referenced earlier to the idea of ater, because the word atrocious means fearsome looking, and that is also dealing with the idea of black looking black. Okay, so, but anyways, let's continue. Nara means male being, and Narayana refers to the name of the deity. Nara is the primeval man, which is like Adam, or eternal spirit pervading the universe, always associated with Narayana, son of the primeval man. Both are considered either gods or sages. They are emanations of Vishnu, Arjuna being identified with Nara, and Krishna with Narayana. Narayana and Nara are both forms of Vishnu. It's a lot of bouncing all over the place, but what's happening now, if I was to even write this out, we could create a cluster chart of what all these deities associate with, okay? And how they're linked as one in the idea of the eternal partner that partners with the mortal ego, okay? So Arjuna and Krishna are often referred to as Nara-Narayana in the Mahabharata, and are considered reincarnations of Nara and Narayana respectively, according to Devi Bhagavata Purana. The duo were born as sages, Nara and Narayana, the latter being the son of Dharma. They traveled from the world of men to the world of Brahman, and with veneration from both the gods and the Gandharvas, existed exclusively for the destruction of demons. Indra is described to have been assisted by Nara and Narayana in his conflict with the Asuras. So, let's see. So I'm going to read something really quick, because this is going to correspond to something that we're going to read about when we read about Arjuna, the birth of Urvashti. The Bhagavata Purana tells the story of the birth of Urvashi from the sages Nara-Narayana. Once sages Nara-Narayana were meditated in the holy shrine of Badrinath, situated in the Himalayas. Their penances and austerities alarmed the gods. So Indra, the king of Devas, sent Kamadeva, Vasanta spring, and Apsaras, nymphs, to inspire them with passion and disturb their devotions. They were trying to sway them away from the path, okay? And that is a solutio thing to basically be kind of like lured by the song of the sirens, okay? The sage Narayana took a flower and placed it on his thigh. Immediately there sprung from it a beautiful nymph whose charms far exceeded those of the celestial nymphs and made them return to heaven filled with shame and vexation. Narayana sent this nymph to Indra with them, and from her having been produced from the thigh, Uru in Sanskrit, of the sage, she was called Urvashi, having sent back the nymphs back, the divine sages continue to meditate. So every time I speak of desire for the carnal and desire for divinity as Aphrodite and Aphrodite Urania, because I've done that quite a few times in these lectures, I am speaking of this exact theme, which is also mirrored in the situation that occurred between Arjuna and Urvashi. You'll see this when we get to the story. But he denied even her pressing on to his destiny, and that shows a desire for divinity, not a desire for carnal things, for the lower things, a desire for higher things. Okay, so they're both ranked one and the same. Okay, as far as desire is concerned, and this can kind of give you a look into the idea of libido energy too, because libido at once can be a sexual energy, but turn inward, it can be desire. It can turn into desire for divinity. It can turn into that which can kickstart the idea and the reality for enlightenment. You see what I'm saying? This is what people are supposedly doing. I'm pretty sure that there are some that are real about it when they're on that whole no fap thing that they're doing nowadays with with semen retention and bringing the energies from the semen up through the spine, which also the whole meditation idea behind the methods of the golden flower, that are recited and talked about in the Golden Flower book by Mr. Wilhelm and Carl Gustav Jung. That idea is in there as well, though, too. That's present as far as with that backflowing method. So anyways, continuing forward, there is Badri Kashram Badrinath, the personality of the Godhead Vishnu in his incarnation as the sages Nara and Narayana, had been undergoing great penance since the time immemorial for the welfare of all living entities. And this idea of going through penance, I wanted to say something about that quickly. It's like, there's an idea that human beings are here reincarnated, and that, we may be under the presence, we may have the inhabiting presence of a deity that is here working out their karma. You know what I mean? There are various schools of thought on that. As far as like making empirical research on that and finding the is this actually true? Well, we'll never know. However, this idea kind of reeks of that idea, and the thing is that eternal partner, the self, is a real entity. I can personally say, but because I personally know the avatar or the image of what that is for me. for instance, right? Does that make it empirically true, scientifically true? No. It's subjective, but it's also backed up with synchronicities, so it's true for me, just as it is true for many others, so it's a matter of a real personal idea. Will they ever be able to make a some type of meter that can test whether that is true or not? Who knows? And this is why spirituality and some psychic phenomenon are above the research of science. You can't make all of these things empirical, which is why even I'm reading, why even I read myths and understand, just as Carl Jung did, understand the psyche through the framework that is laid down in myth. So continuing forward, before I tie myself up with my tongue, in Vana Parvan, Krishna says to Arjuna, "O invincible one, you are Nara, and I am Narayana, and we the sages, Nara-Narayana, have come to this world at the proper time." In the same Parva, chapter 40, verse 1, Shiva says to Arjuna, in former birth you were Nara, and with Narayana as your companion, performed austerities for thousands of years at Badari. So, we're looking into past incarnations, continued incarnations of the self and the ego and their partnership. So this myth shows something. I mean, and keep in mind, a lot of these writings were written several hundred, sometimes maybe thousands of years BC, okay, or CE, if you will, okay. So this idea has been around for quite a long time, okay. So in the Swaminarayan sect, Nara and Narayana are called Nara-Narayana Deva. They are believed to reside at Badrikashram and to be the prime controllers of the destiny of all beings, depending on their karma. Now that last part, depending on their karma, who knows what that karma is, right? But the previous case where it says they're said to be the prime controllers of the destiny of all beings, right? If these are human beings, sentient beings, individuals that have a psyche that are responsible, I guess you could say, for their thoughts, you see, it would say that the self plays a big role in their day-to-day life, in their destiny and their fates, you see. So this is a good way of diving into this material on understanding the self and its importance in relation to the ego. So on to the next page here. So we're going to look at the idea of Vishnu, since Vishnu has everything to do with what we just read about over there and has everything to do with Arjuna. So the forms are as follows. I'm going to read this on the next page as well too, so we can remind ourselves we're talking about the same thing, okay? The forms are as follows. Remember, Arjuna as Nara, Krishna as Narayana. Nara and Narayana are both forms of Vishnu. They're all equated here. Vishnu, literally the pervader, also known as Narayana and Hari, is one of the principal deities in Hinduism. Vishnu is known as the preserver within the Trimurti, the triple deity of supreme divinity that includes Brahma and Shiva. Vishnu is the supreme being who creates, protects, and transforms the universe. There are many both benevolent and fearsome depictions of Vishnu. In benevolent aspects, he is depicted as an omniscient being sleeping on the coils of the serpent Adi Sesha, or Sesha Naga, who represents time, floating in the primeval ocean of milk called Kshira Sagara with his consort Lakshmi. Whenever the world is threatened with evil, chaos, and destructive forces, Vishnu descends in the form of an avatar incarnation to restore the cosmic order and protect Dharma. Okay, so that kind of explains a bit about who Vishnu is, and we're going to continue on with the explanation here. Nomenclature says that Vishnu means all-pervasive, and then also too one who is everything and inside everything. So this is like the germ of all things, right? That which is free from fetters and bondage is Vishnu. Vishnu iconography show him either in standing pose, seated in yoga pose, or reclining. A traditional depiction of Vishnu is that of him reclining on the coils of the serpent Sesha, accompanied by his consort Lakshmi as he dreams the universe into reality. So you see the creative aspects of this deity as well, though, too, or of the self, the creative aspect of that, and the unlimited creative potential, okay? So this is a good potency, if you will, the self for the eternal self for the human ego. It's a good potency to link to, right? If it's eternally and endlessly creative. Okay, particularly in Vaishnavism, the so-called Trimurti represents the three fundamental forces, gunas, through which the universe is created, maintained, and destroyed in cyclical succession. Each of these forces is represented by a Hindu deity. Brahma, presiding deities of Rajas, right? That's what he represents in a way. Passion, and that's creation. Vishnu is the presiding deity of Sattva, goodness and preservation. Shiva is the presiding deity of Tamas, darkness and destruction. The Trimurti, or these three gods, right, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, themselves are beyond the three gunas and are not affected by it. Okay, they represent these energies, but they're not affected by these energies, okay? So avatars, understanding avatars. The concept of the avatar or incarnation within Hinduism is most often associated with Vishnu, the preserver or sustainer aspect of God within the Hindu Trimurti. The avatars of Vishnu descend to empower the good and to destroy the evil, thereby restoring dharma and relieving the burden of the earth. Whenever righteousness wanes and unrighteousness increases, I send myself forth. And this is in the Bhagavadgita, okay, which is describing the typical role of the avatar of Vishnu. Whenever righteousness wanes and unrighteousness increases, I send myself forth for the protection of the good and for destruction of evil. And for the establishment of righteousness, I come into being age after age. Bhagavadgita 4:7-8. The most well-known of these avatars are Krishna, and there are a few others here as well, though, too, but let's talk about Krishna. Krishna in particular is venerated in Vaishnavism as the ultimate primeval transcendental source of all existence, including all the other demigods and gods such as Vishnu. You see, so there is a hierarchy, and they're equating the hierarchy, you know what I mean, to kind of make it easy to understand the simplicity of the self, and also to what the human consciousness is, and how those relate, okay? And this is why I'm reading about this as well, though, too, so we can understand why a relationship with the self is good or necessary, all right? So to what is one is the term of this idea here in the Rig Veda 1.164 and 36 do 37, and then 46 is where this comes from. 7 germs unripened yet are heaven's prolific seed. So 7 germs, 7 roots, okay? These are the Elohim, okay? These are the 7 planets, the 7 days that we talked about in the whole talk about the heptagram. If you can recall, if you've seen the previous videos, okay? So 7 germs unripened yet are heaven's prolific seed. Their functions, they maintained by Vishnu's ordinance. Endued with wisdom through intelligence and thought, they compass us about present on every side. The planets, right? They're compassing us about also within the psyche, the senses, etc., etc., and the energies behind those senses, the energies behind those planets, the gods, the deities, those energies, what those represent. So, what thing I truly am, I know not clearly. Mysterious, fettered in my mind, I wonder. When the firstborn of holy law approached me, then of this speech I first obtained a portion. They call him Indra, Mithras, right? Varuna, Agni, which is the god of fire, okay? And he is heavenly winged Garutman. To what is one, sages give many a title, okay? Syncretism at its best. And I am a syncretist, so I like it a lot. One version of the cosmology, for example, states that Vishnu's eye is at the southern celestial pole from where he watches the cosmos. In another version found in section 4.80 of the Vayu Purana, he is the Hiranyagarbha, or the golden egg from which were simultaneously born all feminine and masculine beings of the universe. This links Vishnu with separatio in a way alchemically. Time and also necessity, because time and necessity through the idea of Kronos and Ananke crushing that world egg, basically shattering it or splitting it apart, right? You know, that gets into the idea of the world egg. Separatio is how the world egg was cut in half to create heaven and earth and all beings on the in-between, and deals with the idea of thought and also space, which is something that creates the ability for things to be thought into existence or spoken into existence, is through the idea of separatio. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that in there because I found that pretty interesting as well. Okay, so let me see. In some Vaishnava Puranas, Vishnu takes the form of Rudra, or commands Rudra, and Rudra has a root that means red. Okay, red, to destroy the world. Thereafter, the entire universe dissolves along with time. Everything is reabsorbed back into Vishnu. The universe is then recreated from Vishnu all over again, starting a new kalpa, which is a cycle. For this, the Bhagavata Purana employs the metaphor of Vishnu as a spider and the universe as his web. Now, keep in mind that the spider in Egyptian myth is neat, and this also, once again, as I stated in the last lecture that I did, links with Athena. Okay. Other texts offer alternate cosmogenic theories, such as one where the universe and time are absorbed into Shiva. And why Shiva? Because Shiva is the destroyer, but the destruction that Shiva brings forth is destruction only to come back to a new creation, which this idea also explains. So now we're going to get into reading about Arjuna, okay? So Arjuna, and before I read this, once again, to get us back on track, we're going to do it like this. The forms are as follows. Remember, Arjuna as Nara, Krishna as Narayana, Nara and Narayana are both forms of Vishnu. So Arjuna, also known as Partha and Dhananyaya, is a character in several ancient Hindu texts, and specifically one of the major characters of the Indian epic Mahabharata. In the epic, he is the third among Pandavas, the five sons of Pandu. The family formed part of the royal line of the Kuru kingdom in the Mahabharata war. Arjuna was a key warrior from the Pandava side and slew many warriors, including Karna and Bhisma. Before the beginning of the war, his mentor Krishna gave him supreme knowledge of Bhagavadgita to overcome his moral dilemmas.